So today we are going to do the session a little bit different. I'm not prepared anything to explain, I'm not prepared to show you something that we did. What I'm going to show you today, what I'm going to working on today, is just making a scene in Unity 3D, and I'm going to make it look like Overwatch. So to do that, at first we are going to run Overwatch. We are going to discuss a little bit about what make Overwatch look the way that that game looks. What are the art decisions that the creators did. And then we are going to try to replicate those decisions on around a scene in Unity 3D. So let's start. I'm going to run Overwatch, and at first I'm going to just choose training. Yes, I only want to see the map, move through the map a little bit and show you a specific aspect of the aesthetic of the game. And then, as I told before, we are going to create a Unity project. We are going to add to the project some asset that the people, that the Navilite team has made, and we are going to add post-processing. We are going to work on illumination a little bit, and yes, we are going to discuss about colors and how we face the challenge to make a Unity 3D scene look like Overwatch. Welcome everybody. One thing that we can start discussing is the case that in Overwatch they have different kind of models. They have models for the menus that are very high poly ones, and then they have in-game models that are more low poly ones. And yeah, we are going to just move a little bit. I'm going to show you some aspects of the game. One of the things that is very cool about Overwatch is the readability. You can look wherever you want, and there are no areas in where you feel confused. You can identify the different lines, the different objects of the scene, because everything is very simple in terms of lines and shapes and things like that, and also is very contrasted in colors. So for example, here you can see the columns very well because the floor is like green mixed with another tones, but that created a big contrast, and also with the blue background it make an image that it feel readable. Also the aesthetic is beautiful, but as we are going to look more closely, the models, the textures are not that much detailed. For example, look at the vegetation, look at the textures. They are they don't have too much detail. The diffuse texture, they are just simple. So what make Overwatch unique, the aesthetic of Overwatch, what makes the aesthetic unique is the coherence between all the elements, and also what is very good is the illumination. I'm going to try to choose another map because I want to show you specific things. Look at this. Well, I want to find specific area to show you one thing. What do you is Lena Nena say? What do you mean lightning, or what does illumination mean in this case? I mean, illumination is when you have like an object with some texture. Yeah, let me show you. It's better if I can explain what I mean with an example. So let's move to Unity. I have Unity here. So what I mean is, this is the game screen. I'm going to add a plane. This is a regular plane. I'm going to add a sphere. And a cube. I'm going to move the camera a little bit. I don't want to have light. No light. My light is disabled. Sky, but I'm going to just use a plain color. So this is a scene when you don't have illumination. So what I'm going to talk today is how illuminate the scenes is art. Is directly as simple as that. Is art. How you achieve that the image look and transmit a specific feeling is something that it achieve adding light to the scene. So when you don't have light, you can see anything. When you add light, you can use the color to balance the result that you perceive in the scene, and modifying the light, even if you don't change the color of the objects, and even if you don't I don't know, if you don't add too much detail to the element of the object, you can have different colors on the different objects. So this is something that Overwatch does very well. If we back to what I trying to explain is, for example, let me find, yeah, you can see different areas. Yeah, this map is not. And for example, this part here, I perceive it a little bit blue, and this is changing how this floor looks. So in this way, I mean, Overwatch is very good at illumination, but the basic blocks of the image are very simple. If you see this floor is just a a simple texture is a tile, and adding those lights that they did that well can make you perceive the scene in a very different way. So what I want to show you too, before we start doing things, I'm going to show you, but first, yeah, I need to choose another map because I want to show you a specific one. So the object doesn't have color, light is what gives the coloring. Yeah, and there is where the art of, in this case, this is where the art that today I'm going to do. I'm going to just take some objects and I'm going to use the light to make them transmit a specific feeling. Or it's more about the finishing. No. In fact, the object could be like black and white, and you can color them with light, but not also with light. You choose the final mix of the color with the post-processing, and this is something that we are going to talk about today. With the combination of the lights of the scene and the post-processing, you can make your image look way different than the object that you use to compose the scene. So, before continue, let me show you what filmmakers, what people in the films do. In movies, you can see I'm going to choose. So for example, look at this image of the Joker. You are seeing in the background, you are seeing like green, right? And this is something that filmmakers do in post-processing. They try to make the tones of the full image look like a predominant color. In this picture, there are green and there are blue, green, and they use more or like 2 or 3 color at max. And this is something that games does too. So I'm going to show you some example of this. Then I'm going to try to find the map in Overwatch that I want to show you. One of the map that use this approach. And then we are going to start in Unity replicating these kind of effects. See, for example, in Batman, in the background, in general in the image, you can perceive the image as blue mixed with orange. And this is not a coincidence, because these two colors are colors that works very well together. So when you are trying to illuminate a scene, or when you are trying to create the post-processing of a scene, you have first to study the theory of color, and you have to choose carefully the colors that you are going to use, 2 or 3. Then you are going to make your scene look like a combination of these 2 or 3 tones. And be careful, because the different colors transmit different emotions. So there are some other things behind the color selection. See, look at this photogram. It's very green pale, all the photogram. And you perceive this image like, oh, this is beautiful, right? If you see this original picture, you can feel like a lot of different tones, and it's not that cohesive. I just want to show you that the best picture of famous movies, they use a combination of only 2 or 3 colors to create the final image. And something that Overwatch does is replicating this. but games replicate this in a very difficult way because you have like different areas of the map, and you are when you create the map you are going to choose for these different areas 2 or 3 tones, and then with that 2 or 3 tones you are going to create the final mix. Look at this. Blade Runner is totally or even monochrome, or they are using 2 tones. What it's something that you see very commonly is 2 tones. 3 is more difficult to work with them. See the foregrounds. Yeah, it's something that you can see very clearly. Yeah, so lightning in Blade Runner is amazing. Yeah, I agree. Let's back to Overwatch, and let me try to find the map, because in this map they use also fog, and fog is something that will also is used to end the final mix of the scene. So look, all this picture, even if you don't notice, all this picture is like purple mix with yellow grays, but all the mix is like white, purple. You can use white in combination with another tone, but if you modify the white a little bit to look like a very clear purple, you have the effect. And yeah, let me just take a picture of this. Well, I don't have Photoshop here. It's something that I do all the time when I'm working. I take pictures, I open Photoshop, and I share Photoshop with the people that work with me. So yeah, I am used to that, but I don't have Photoshop here. Well, I guess I can try something. Let me show you. Okay, so we are here. What we are seeing is that, look, purple. This is purple too, but this is a purple that is that you perceive as white, but this is purple. Okay, let's continue. Purple. Hi Miguel, and how do you transition from one color palette to another in the same map? This is something that you can do with post-processing volumes. I'm going to do that too today. In Unity, I'm going to create different volumes of post-processing, and then when you move from one room to another one, the color, the post-processing of the colors is interpolated through these 2 palettes. Also, you have to use the lights on the other room in the same selection of colors, so you have to use the palette on the other room. So see, as I show you, everything is like a monochrome. It's like a monochrome color result, and this is something that Overwatch does very good. So why don't we start doing things in Unity, and I come back to this if I want to. I mean, I'm going to have Overwatch on the left side, and I'm going to open Unity on the other side, and then we are going to just try to achieve different things. Okay, first I'm going to add some models. that the people from Abilite did. Remember the scene that we created before? Yes, and I'm going to rotate it a little bit. I'm going to move the camera to a better look. Yeah, the character is not rigged yet. I could do it, but it will take a while, so let's do the test with this current layout. I'm going to add an ambient color for a light. Okay. So the light will be like this. The character, I'm going to create material for the character. And I'm going to add the material. The material I'm going to assign the albedo, metallic, normal map, and I think I have the ambient occlusion too. Where is the ambient occlusion of the female? I don't see. Oh, it's here. Okay, ambient occlusion too. Okay, so let's start our scene choosing a proper color for the background, and I'm going to choose like this one. What I'm going to do is just use the same one for the floor. I don't know why I cannot use this, but floor. Okay. Why don't we start talking about different lighting models? For example, if you are illuminating an object for first time, one thing that you can do is the 3-point illumination, and this is 2 at front, 1 at back. I'm going to add 3 lights, 3 clean ones, light, point ones, and what you usually want is create contrast. So if you create contrast, you are going to enhance the details of your models. So to do that, what I'm going to do is add one light over here, another one also in the front, but a little bit lower. We have to select one of them to have shadows, only one, because otherwise it could feel it could be perceived as very messy, the image. So soft shadows. The second light, you have to to change the second light to be at lower intensity in comparison with your first light. In this way, what you achieve is contrast. This is something that you want. Create contrast. See, and when you have objects in your background, you need another light at back to add to separate your object from the background. Also, it can be used with no shadows. It can be used to mark, also to add more shape context to your model. So see, at simple as that, you have your model looking good. And we didn't even started, because what we are going to do next is to add post-processing. Okay, let's continue. But before continue, I cannot stress enough the importance of the different emotion that you can transmit with your illumination. Look at this. Hi Luli. So Luli, say hi to Luli. Luli is the creator of this masterpiece. She was the one that made this model in Avila team. So say hi to her. She is our art director. So continuing with this, the importance that the light have. It can transmit fear, for example, or suspense. It can transmit like fear, normal person, but not a beautiful one, a awful person. And if you use the light properly, a very good model. So see, you can change the perception that other people will have, just changing the position of light, changing the contrast in intensity between them. And I didn't start with the color. If I can start, it's looking awesome already. Yeah. But if we add to this image also color, and if we add post-processing, you will see how different it is in comparison with the character that we started at the beginning. So for example, I'm going to try to use the two color illumination. I'm going to try to make my scene like a little bit green, and I'm going to use the orange as a contrast with the green. So for example, I'm going to add ambient like a little bit green. I'm going to use one of the light purple is a color that is work very well with green too. So you can use like a little bit purple, and in the other one, in the contrast one, you can use orange. Not too much, because otherwise, this one is not that high, but we want contrast. Okay, and with the backlight, I like to use blue, because it's something that you see sometimes, like I don't know, like a rain, like a like a ray, like a lightning or something like that. It's something, yeah, cool. So see, very different perception, very different result. See, no light, light. So this is what Overwatch does. They use light to bind. They use light to change the way that you perceive the full scene. Okay, so I'm going to continue adding to this scene. I'm going to add the post-processing. The post-processing package of Unity. I want to add also ambient occlusion, and I will add a couple of more models, and we will end working with HDR, fog, and also adding emissive maps. This is the full package. This is the full package that Overwatch does. For example, when I'm going to just show you, this is using an emissive map, and in combination with the bloom, you can see an area, a volume involving this light that we can see here. Okay, so I think that I have this already installed, so I can add post-processing, post-processing volume. Yes, I don't have any post-processing profile yet. I have created one already, but I don't want the post-processing volume here because I want to mix, as I mentioned before. If we want to move from one scene to another one, if we want to perceive the interpolation between these two post-processing values, we need like two different volumes. I'm going to add a cube that I'm going to put here, and I'm going to put another cube here. I'm going to add the one of them is going to be the main one, but we're going to add two post-processing volume to them. I'm going to link them. I'm going to use also an empty. This empty is going to control the amount of post-processing that each song is going to affect the result, and this is something that you can have in your camera. So as soon as your camera moves through another song with a different volume, it's going to interpolate the post-processing result from one one post-processing values to the another one. Okay, so I have volume 1, volume 2, volume 1 is going to have bloom. This is going to be 1, is going to be global. The another one is going to be 2, it's not going to be global, so that will be the second one, and this will be, I will have this object to control the volume controller. So in the camera, what I want to add is a post-processing layer. Also, I want to add anti-aliasing. Volume layer, I want everything. And let's start tweaking our first volume. If we change things a little bit, you see that we can start seeing result. So definitely what you want is you have bloom. Bloom is to result very high illuminated areas. So this is something that in combination with HDR will help you to achieve this result. The result that you have a light here and an area that is covering a volume. So we are going to achieve this with emissive material and bloom. Another, we also want ambient occlusion, we also want color grading, we also want depth of field, we also want grain, we also want screen space reflections, and we also want vignette and chromatic aberration. And we are going to start configuring everything from the beginning. So first, something that you have to check is that you have your project set up as using color. It's not in quality, it's in the player. The color space that you want to use is linear, not gamma. I'm going to change it. It will work better with the color grading. So, but it will require to you to add color grading, because if you use linear without trading the final mix of the color, the image resulting is not very good. But this is what we are going to do. See? We are going to just start modifying the final mix of the color with the color grading. I want to have aces, or you can use a more neutral mix. With aces you will achieve more cinematic result, but this is better to conserve the aspect of the models. So temperature, diffusive, saturating, contrast. What I start doing is start with the saturation and with the contrast. This is one of the things that can make your picture look different very quickly. And we can tweak the curves. This is like when you change the levels in Photoshop, when you have an image and you change how the shadows and light affect the image. Also, if your scene is a little bit darker, you can add post exposure. You can move your colors too, but I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to add like a pale blue purple look. See, this is something that Overwatch does, and this is the way that all the image look like a little bit purple, and this is done in the post-processing and not on the asset creation. So when you create the texture of your models in Overwatch, this is white, this tile doesn't have this purple color. This is something that the illumination and the post-processing process add to that. Okay, so let's continue. Temperature, if you want the image more warm or more cold, depending of what you want to transmit, you will modify this. I want the image a little bit more warmer, the tint, the hue if it's okay like this, saturation, contrast, this is this and this. I like this way. Okay, so let's say that we have our color of the color grading set. So continue with other things. Ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is a process that simulates the part of the scene that are being occluded by the indirect light of the scene. When you go outside, you can see that even if there are no sun pointing to your direction because you are in shadow, you can see that behind the car it's darker. And this is darker because the amount of light that it's receive from the ambient it's less. And this is something that we achieve with some techniques in the ambient occlusion effect. So I'm going to add a little bit ambient occlusion. The radius I want it slower. One thing that maybe you don't know is that you can add this post-processing debug, and in the post-processing debug you can see different things like for example the ambient occlusion. So in this way I'm going to be able to tune this better. See, see the darker areas is the part of the image. Let me try the other method. No, it's not working with the, I don't know. So something like this, just to add more detail, it's okay. Something like this and something that it's cool. See, I'm going to disable the effect. I'm going to show you without ambient occlusion and with ambient occlusion. The difference is not too much, but it contribute to increase the readability of your scene. Also, we have pre-calculated ambient occlusion in the model. So in my model, in the model character, I have also another layer of ambient occlusion that increase the shapes of the object. Okay, so let's continue. Ambient occlusion, and something that is cool is to change the color of the ambient occlusion to have a beautiful image. For example, I would like to have my ambient occlusion a little bit purple because I don't want these darker areas. I want this feel like this. Okay, so Marce is asking, are these effects heavy to process? Not really. Normally in the game that we play, all these processes are being applied in real time. In Overwatch is something that you definitely see. You see all those effects, and those effects contribute to have this resulting image. Even if the starting point, even if the assets itself are not that, I don't know, high quality, polygonal. So these assets are very normal. This asset is something that people at Tablet does every day. Okay. So what else? Chromatic aberration. This is something that can add to the corners too. I want to add a little bit vignette. Vignette is this, and it could make your image look like cinema 2. This one, this amount is cool. But now that we have all of this, I feel the image a little bit darker, so I'm going to increase the post-processing. I am increasing the post exposure. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah, and to show you the bloom and the depth of field, I need to add more objects to the scene. So let me select some props that people at Tabulate have created. If I didn't mention yet, they are like the best. We have a very good art team. I mean, also programmers and designers. I mean, all the people, but we have very cool art. Locker, I'm going to add a locker. It's importing assets right now. Meanwhile, we can take a look of Overwatch. So what I'm going to show you now is that things on the distance are being the color of the objects in the distance is changed with the fog. Let me try to go outside and show you this better. See? Let me show you. Yeah, there. You have like this at the center of my pointer. This orange area. This orange area is not orange. Why not? Because of the fog. And fog is something that it's also used as a readability mechanism. It helps you to understand what is far and what is near. So definitely in combination with depth of field and in combination with bloom and HDR, it's something that we are going to use in our scene to achieve the result. No, I want this because I want you to appreciate it. I'm going to another zone that have lights. This part have lights. I love lights. Lights everywhere. Look at this beautiful bloom. We are going to achieve this, okay? So first I'm going to add what I have, a slot machine. So some of the people from my team made this. And what is this? Oh, this is a very small slot machine. But we are going to put the slot machine here. Well, the slot machines will be something like this, right? And see, I didn't started adding the materials. I didn't started changing anything of the model, and see how it looks. And everything is thanks to the illumination and post-processing. So wait, because this is going to be even better. I'm going to create a new material for the slot machine. Where is my 31, 25 slot machine? Is going to be the standard. For the moment, is going to use the standard shader. it will have texture diffuse. Metallic is something wrong. I don't know what, but I'm going to fix it in a moment. Okay, so normal is well, metallic is not, apparently metallic is have something weird. I don't know what. I'm going to use this as a regular channel, and yes, okay, so if we back to Unity, it should be correct now. Yes, it is. I can even not use this because something is not working properly or whatever. I don't know. It's okay. I'm not going to use the metallic map, and I'm going to use a metallic value for all the prop, just to show you what I want to show you. Okay, so this is the emissive map, and for the moment I'm going to use this. See, for the moment it's just yellow without this volume light. So what we are going to do is to use HDR on the camera. Yes, it have HDR enabled, and we are going to use bloom. We are going to use bloom. It's too much. It's too much. The emission value is too much right now. But see, do you like the combination of HDR, emissive maps, and bloom? This is something that I love. I love to use this combination. And if you want to have this anamorphic, like lens flare that we can appreciate in Overwatch, these two horizontal lines, we can achieve it too. We can achieve it with this anamorphic radio. It's of need. Maybe I can achieve it with. Oh yes, anamorphic radio. Yeah, we can even use a texture as a lens flare. I'm going to try to show you, but I don't know if I'm going to find the correct texture to do this, but let's try. I'm looking for lens flare mask. Let's see if there is something in. Yeah, I will try this one. Why not? I will try this one. Lens mask. No, it's in the volume. In the volume, I want to use as a dirtiness. Well, it's more like the dirtiness, right? But for example, yeah, find a dirt texture mask for your camera, like when you are pointing, this one is perfect. When you are pointing to a glass that is dirt, you have, with a light, I mean, with a light source. Why? Fondo, abstracto. Wait a minute. I'm going to call it dirt. Dirt is here. So let's back to our volume. I'm going to assign this. See? On the surroundings of the effect, you see like parts of the screen that feel like dirt. We achieved that with the texture. I'm going to reverse to a very normal result. In fact, I'm not going to use this. This one is okay. Diffusion. This one is definitely okay. Threshold. Threshold is something that you modify to choose what objects are going to be affected by bloom. Okay, let's continue. We are going to modify this material a little bit to have like reflections. But something that Overwatch does too is like here I can activate that to use as environmental reflection and custom skybox. I'm going to add an skybox to the scene. Let's go to internet and look at for HDR free skybox. Okay, I want HDR. Studio. I would like to use these ones. This one is perfect. This one is awesome. I want this one. 1K, it's okay. I'm going to use this HDR as a reflection source, and then I'm going to show you the difference between using a global skybox and what Overwatch does, that they compute like different point in the space that use as a skybox in different areas, giving local reflection to the items that you can see on these different rooms. Yeah, let me show you this by example, okay? I think it's better. First, I have to add this cube map is a small stadium. Mod GUI, very useful tool. It's made me realize that I need to put more time learning how to light properly. Yes, light can dramatically affect the result of your game. If you have decent models, even low poly models, but if you have good illumination and good post-processing, you can have beautiful results. Okay, so I'm going to use this image as cube map. Trilinear, of course, because otherwise the reflections are not going to work properly. And environment reflection, I will use this cube map where you see the I don't like too much the result. Yeah, let me use the cube map that I normally use in all my projects. It's a cube map that I'm been creating from the past of the years. The name is RC Club Cube Map, because this is a cube map that we did for another project. Okay. So lightning, RC Club, cube map. Now I can have I can make the character look like plastic, or make it feel more natural, like skin. But definitely the slot machine should look like metal, okay? And I'm feeling that the illumination is not good in the part of the machine, so I'm going to fix this. I'm going to use like okay. So my slot machine is there. It's more or less well illuminated. The metal value are correct, more or less. Reflections, of course. And what we can do is what I told you before. We can add like points that in Unity are called reflection proof. So a reflection proof is nothing else than a cube map, but a cube map that is computed from a specific point of your scene, and that is going to render an image around the sphere, and it will be used as reflection. So I'm going to configure them, and I'm going to press bake. Also, my floor is going to start having reflexes, and if we want to use that in the post-processing, all those information in the post-processing, we have to enable a screen space reflection. But this is something that can only be doing in the ferret shading. So I have changed the camera. Preset, I'm going to use high. fat. So look, these surfaces that appear to be like plastic with diffuse reflection of the light and everything. This is something that we see all the time in Overwatch. See? This is not this is not a real reflection. And this is something that you can notice, because if you see another enemy here, the reflection of the enemy is not going to be there. So this is something that is pre-computed. This is something that it computed using cube map that are locally computed for specific areas of the map. So let's continue. I'm going to replicate this a lot, and to add I'm going to add more. Well, in fact, I'm going to tune the reflection a little bit. So Martha says everything looks great. I feel like in Overwatch all the lighting is soft, even in very dark areas. Thank you, Marce. Let me add another thing that Overwatch has: the fog. In this way, you will perceive the distant objects like they are very far away, and this will give you more information. So I'm going to enable fog. One thing that I like to do is to use, well, I like to do it, and this is something that Overwatch does too, is use the same color for the fog that you use a predominant color in your background. So if my background is like purple, I should use purple for the fog. Okay, so let's start tuning. I prefer linear. I'm going to start in 20 to 40, even less. So look at this beautiful image that can be finished just changing the color of the background. I mean, sorry, what happened? Oh, something is wrong. Okay. See, if you mix your distant parts of the image with the fog color, it's produce an effect like cohesive, right? Here in Overwatch is more like purple, but very light one. I will try to achieve something like that. It's like more like this kind of color, and the fog will be something like this. Okay, so see, fog is giving me more information. Fog is telling me this is far, this is near. And in combination, when you see all the image, when you see the combination of all the effects, lights, fog, it's giving you a lot of information, and it's making you feel different than if you don't have fog, you don't have light, and you don't have post-processing. So see, we are going to compare the base image with the result. Then I'm going to add a couple of assets more, and I think that we end like in 20 minutes or so. So if you have specific questions or something that you have seen in Overwatch or in other games like this, just write me here in the chat and I will try to answer that. Meanwhile, I want to compare these two images, this and this. See, this is something that I want to do it full screen. How much affect fog to performance? That's a very good question. Fog doesn't affect too much, and in fact, fog is something that all game uses to hide the clipping. For example, remember the game from Nintendo 64? All they feel like having like a fog in the distance, like a white fog or another color, and this was used to hide the fact that you cannot draw with that machine very far away. Also, if you remember Silent Hill, yeah, I mean Silent Hill, like Master said, yes. If you remember Silent Hill, the fog was something used because of the limitation of the machine, but Silent Hill was one of the first games that used the fog as a aesthetic asset. And this is something cool because you can transform a limitation in something that give more to the aesthetic of your game. And in modern games, fog is used to that too, because if you don't have fog, you have to render very, very far away in the distance, and you don't want to do that because what you want to do as a game designer, game programmer, is to reduce the amount of things that are being drawn every frame. So if we back to the comparison, I have the two images here, this and this one, and see, I'm going to create a layer of and see and compare. This is the left are the base assets, like they were created in the 3D model, in the 3D program. And on the right, you can appreciate when we add light, when we add post-processing, and when we add fog. And we didn't end yet, because the final effect, the effect that I love, the effect that makes your image look like cinema, is depth of field. Let me show you. Depth of field. I'm going to also add to the camera the debugger of depth of field, and I'm going to tune it using this. So with depth of field, red areas are the ones that have the focus. So if I disable this, the focus is behind the character. So I'm going to move the focal length a little bit, the distance. Is near, is here. Here I have. So then let's disable the debugger and see. What a beautiful image. And we can tune it. I'm going to tune the depth of field a little bit more, like having a bokeh effect. Okay. So just to end the stream, I'm going to show you what I told you at the beginning when you have two areas. For the second one, I'm going to configure this as the second one. The camera object that is going to trigger the effect one or the another one is going to be the volume controller. And the volume controller, if the volume controller is outside of the trigger zone, is going to use the volume 1 post-processing effect, and if it's inside, it's going to use the second one. So for the second one, we are going to disable the depth of field, and we are going to disable, for example, the reflection, and we are going to change the color grading. It's going to be warmer, like a lot, and it's going to be like more contrast, more saturation, and in general it's like I don't know, being in the desert in a sandstorm or something like that. And I'm going to even thin the image a little bit to this, so dramatic, so like this. So when I change, look at this, when I change from one zone to another one, different post-processing effects are going to be applied. So what I want to do now is to mix them. So one volume is here. Wait, priority 0, priority 1, blend distance. Oh, this is the blend distance. So look at this. It's interpolating one post-processing effect, one post-processing volume to the other one. And this is what Overwatch does too. They have different post-processing effects for different rooms and different areas of the level. And when you move from one zone to another zone, the post-processing effect change, and it gives you different aspect. For example, let me try to show you this. Oh, my PC is dying or something is sleeping. I don't know what's happening to my PC. See, I see a lot of fog. The general image is like lighter, but if I go here, well, not yet. This is not. This sound didn't change the post-processing volume, I guess. But it's something that definitely you can notice if you move. No, I didn't found a different tone with another volume yet. Maybe this map doesn't have, because it's very open, but it's something that I've seen before on other maps and definitely on other games too. Well, let me try to find. No, I didn't feel it. Okay, it's okay. But it's something that it's common to do. It's something very common to do in games. This. Okay. So yeah, to end, I'm going to do a reflection like I want to do it normally. And meanwhile, if you have questions, just write them and I will answer to you in a second. So my reflection of the day is about psychology and about how psychology is used to develop games. When we have been adding lights and post-processing effects and changing the color and the mix to achieve a different image, what we are doing too is achieving a different feeling, a different perception on the mind of the people that is receiving that image. So consider the psychology of the people, of the user, of the player that is going to experiment your art, your game. It's something definitely to take in count. You have to think like them. You have to expose what you do to people to see the reactions that they have, and you have to think in terms of what emotion I'm triggering on the mind of my audience. What I'm doing with this, what I'm doing adding a red light, what I'm doing adding a light, a bloom, an effect, what I'm doing with how I am affecting the psychology of the players. So please take that in mind, because it's very related with the art. It's very related with with the aesthetic. What is your game telling me? Is your game telling me that is about horror? Is your game telling me that I don't know, the character is like hallucinating or something? So yeah, have that in mind. And Marce says, I think it's very useful. It look great, and it also helps to highlight areas, objects to guide the player. Yes, that is something very important, and that is something that level designer also does. They add lights to zones where they want to move the player to there, and they remove lights in areas with less interest. So good comment, Marce. It's something very useful that you say that. Okay, guys, people, thank you very much for being here. Has been a pleasure for me to be in the third session of the streaming. I don't know. We'll try to improve next week. This week we have more collaborators, some people from the team helping us setting up everything, all the environment of all the programs that we use to Twitch. Also, some people from the team was helping me to create the layouts and the image that we use on the streams. And yeah, we will try to add new things like we did this week, like chat. We will try to add our plugins, other rewards for the people that enjoy the kind of content that we do. So if you like what you see today, please press on follow and activate the notification, and in this way you will be notified the next time that we will start on a stream. So I guess that's something for today. Thank you very much. Bye.